Chapter 2. Chuffy. I confess that it was in sombre mood that I assembled the stick, the hat, and the lemon-coloured gloves some half-hour later, and strode out into the streets of London. But though I did not care to think what existence would be like without Jeeves, I had no thought of weakening. As I turned the corner into Piccadilly, I was a thing of fire and chilled steel, and I think in about another half jiffy I should have been snorting, if not actually shouting, the ancient battle cry for Woosters, had I not observed on the skyline a familiar form. This familiar form was none other than that of my boyhood friend, the 5th Baron Chuffnell, the chap, if you remember, whose Aunt Myrtle I had seen the previous night hobnobbing with the hellhound Glossop. The sight of him reminded me that I was in the market for a country cottage, and that here was the very chap to supply same. I wonder if I have ever told you about Chuffy. Stop me if I have. He's a fellow I've known more or less all my life, he and self having been at private school, Eton and Oxford together. We don't see a frightful lot of one another nowadays, however, as he spends most of his time down at Chuffnell Regis on the coast of Somersetshire, where he owns an enormous great place of about 150 rooms and miles of rolling parkland. Don't run away, however, on the strength of this, with the impression that Chuffy is one of my wealthier cronies. He's dashed hard up, poor bloke, like most fellows who own land, and only lives at Chuffnell Hall because he's stuck with it, and can't afford to live anywhere else. If somebody came to him and offered to buy the place, he would kiss him on both cheeks. Who wants to buy a house that size in these times? He can't even let it. So he sticks on there most of the year with nobody to talk to except the local doctor and parson and his Aunt Myrtle and her 12-year-old son Seabury, who live at the dower house in the park. A pretty mouldy existence for one who at the university gave bright promise of becoming one of the lads. Chuffy also owns the village of Chuffnell Regis. Not that that does him much good either. I mean to say, the taxes on the estate and all the expenses of repairs and whatnot come to pretty nearly as much as he gets out of the rents, making the thing more or less of a washout. Still, he is the landlord, and, as such, would doubtless have dozens of cottages at his disposal, and probably be only too glad of a chance of easing one of them off to a reputable tenant, like myself. "You're the very chap I wanted to see, Chuffy," I said accordingly, after our initial what-hoing. "Come right along with me to the drawings for a bite of lunch. I can put a bit of business your way." He shook his head, wistfully, I thought. "I'd like it, Bertie, but I'm due at the Carlton in 5 minutes. I'm lunching with a man." "Well, give him a miss." "I couldn't." "Well, bring him along then. We'll make it a threesome." Chuffy smiled rather wanly. "I don't think you'd enjoy it, Bertie. He's Sir Roderick Glossop." I goggled. It's always been a bit of a shock when you've just parted from Bloke A to meet Bloke B, and have Bloke B suddenly bring Bloke A into the conversation. "Sir Roderick Glossop?" "Yes." "I didn't know you knew him." "I don't, very well. Just met him a couple of times. He's a great friend of my Aunt Myrtle." "Ah, that explains it. I saw her dining with him last night." "Well, if you come to the Carlton, you'll see me lunching with him today." "But, Chuffy, old man, is this wise? Is this prudent? It's an awful ordeal breaking bread with this man. I know. I've done it." "I dare say. But I've got to go through with it. I had an urgent wire from him yesterday, telling me to come up and see him without fail, and what I'm hoping is that he wants to take the Hall for the summer, or knows somebody who does. He would hardly wire like that unless there was something up. No, I shall have to stick it. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll dine with you tomorrow night." Well, I would have been all for it, of course, had the circumstances been different, but I had to refuse. I had formed my plans and made my arrangements, and they could not be altered. "I'm sorry, Chuffy. I'm leaving London tomorrow." "You are?" "Yes, the management of a building where I reside has offered me the choice between clearing out immediately or ceasing to play the banjolele. I elected to do the former. I am going to take a cottage in the country somewhere, and that's what I meant when I said I could put business in your way. Can you let me a cottage?" I can give you your choice of about half a dozen. It must be quiet and secluded. I shall be playing the banjolele a good deal. I've got the very shack for you. On the edge of a harbour, and not a neighbour within a mile except Police Sergeant Voles, and he plays a harmonium. You could do duets. Fine. And there's a troupe of nigger minstrels down there this year. You could study their technique. Chuffy, it sounds like heaven, and we shall be able to see something of each other for a change. You don't come playing your damned banjolele at the hall. No, old man, but I'll drop over to lunch with you most days. Oh, thanks. Don't mention it. By the way, what has Jeeves got to say about all of this? I shouldn't have thought he would have cared about leaving London. I stiffened a bit. Jeeves has nothing to say on that or any other subject. We have parted brass rags. What? I had anticipated that the news would stagger him. Yes, I said. From now on, Jeeves will take the high road and I will take the low road. He had the immortal rind to tell me that if I didn't give up my banjolele, he would resign. I accepted his portfolio. You've really let him go? I have. Well. I waved a hand nonchalantly. These things happen, I said. I'm not pretending I'm pleased, of course, but I can bite the bullet. My self-respect would not permit me to accept the man's terms. You can push a Worcester just so far. Very good, Jeeves, I said to him. So be it. I shall watch your career with considerable interest. And that was that. We walked on for a bit in silence. So you've parted with Jeeves, have you? Said Chuffy, in a thoughtful sort of voice. Well. Any objection to my looking in and saying goodbye to him? None whatsoever. It would be a graceful act. Quite. I've always admired his intellect. Me too, no one more. I'll go round to the flat after lunch. Follow the green line, I said, and my manner was airy and even careless. This parting of the ways of Jeeves had made me feel a bit as if I had just stepped on a bomb and was trying to piece myself together again in a bleak world. But we Woosters can keep the stiff upper lip. I lunched at the Drones and spent the afternoon there. I had much to think of. Chuffy's news that there was a troupe of nigger minstrels performing on the Chuffnor Regis sands had definitely weighed the scale down on the side of the advantages of the place. The fact that I would be in a position to foregather with these experts and possibly pick up a hint or two from their banjoist on fingering and execution enabled me to bear with fortitude the prospect of being in a spot where I would probably have to meet the Dowager Lady Chuffnell and her son Seabury pretty frequently. I had often felt how tough it must be for poor old Chuffy having this pair of pustules popping in and out all the time. And in saying this I am looking straight at little Seabury, a child who should have been strangled at birth. I have no positive proof, but I have always been convinced that it was he who put the lizard in my bed the last time I stayed at the Hall. But, as I say, I was prepared to put up with this couple in return for the privilege of being in close communication with a really hot banjoist, and most of these nigger minstrel chaps can pick the strings like nobody's business. It was not, therefore, the thought of them which, as I returned to the flat to dress for dinner, was filling me with a strange moodiness. No. We Woosters can be honest with ourselves. What was giving me the pip was the reflection that Jeeves was about to go out of my life. There had never been anyone like Jeeves, I felt, as I climbed sombrely into the soup and fish, and there never would be. A wave of not unmanly sentiment poured over me. I was conscious of a pang, and when my toilet was completed, and I stood before the mirror, surveying that perfectly pressed coat, those superbly creased trousers, I came to a swift decision. Abruptly, I went into the sitting room and leaned on the bell. "Jeeves," I said. "A word." "Yes, sir?" "Jeeves," I said, "touching on our conversation this morning." "Yes, sir?" "Jeeves," I said, "I have been thinking things over. I have come to the conclusion that we have both been hasty. Let us forget the past. You may stay on." It is very kind of you, sir, but are you still proposing to continue the study of that instrument? I froze. Yes, Jeeves, I am. Then I fear, sir... It was enough. I nodded haughtily. Very good, Jeeves. That is all. I will, of course, give you an excellent recommendation. Thank you, sir, but it will not be necessary. This afternoon I entered the employment of Lord Chuffnell. I started. Did Chuffy sneak round here this afternoon and scoop you in? Yes, sir. I go with him to Chuffnell Regis in about a week's time. You do you? Well, it may interest you to know that I repair to Chuffnell Regis tomorrow. Indeed, sir? Yes, and I have taken a cottage there. We shall meet at Philippi, Jeeves. Yes, sir. Or am I thinking of some other spot? No, sir, Philippi is correct. Very good, Jeeves. Very good, sir. Such, then, is the sequence of events which led up to Bertram Wooster on the morning of July the 15th, standing at the door of Seaview Cottage, Chuffnell Regis, surveying the scene before him through the aromatic smoke of a meditative cigarette.